What does it mean to live free and die well?
Sure. So it's wrapped up in our whole warrior poet ethos. That's living for higher purpose, being ready to sacrifice in the defense of others. Ultimately, to live well in the present, you have to really start with the end in mind. Lots of folks just go through life in an extremely reactionary manner. Things happen, the tyranny of the urgent comes up, and before you know it, all of your waking hours and even your kind of off hours are spent stressing about stuff. Though if you were given a death diagnosis, you are terminally ill, every single day would immediately sift to the edges of our attention as not important. And what can happen in the tyranny of the urgent is the most important stuff gets shuffled to the back. Being able to die well means that you lived a life that was worthy of your calling, so to speak. And in so doing, you're able to live well with kind of that end in mind. And so, uh, in my estimation, having faced death, many different times, it really allowed me to focus on what I wanted to do in life. And so it turns out that you'll die the exact same way that you live, whether that's poorly or well. Folks think of like, man, my 9 to 5 sucks, and if I can just get through all the chores and the tasks, and I fix up the house and I pay that off and I work, and ultimately one day I'll have a nest egg big enough, and then when I'm 65 years old, I'm going to really start living. That's when it'll get really good. And what you don't realize is that is overrated once you even get there. You look back of like, no, let's start living well right now. All there is today. You're not promised tomorrow. And so I don't want to delay living and having a meaningful impact on the world around me for hoping that one day I can start living right. Proximity, but a near ambush is supposed to be 35 meters and in. It's basically hand grenade range. And so the idea is you're moving, whether it's on foot or through vehicle. We happen to be stripped down Humvees. So we didn't have doors. We didn't have ceilings or anything, no armor. So we were able to, Rangers, jump out and in a moment be ready to fight. So we didn't like all the armor stuff. It just ends up being just a metal coffin to us. But we got hit. I was the lead driver. It's kind of like a fire breathing team leader. You want somebody who is going to react well under pressure. And so that was kind of a nice position because I'm target number one in something like a near ambush. If you take out the lead driver, all the vehicles stop, then you kill the rear driver, and then it's just a massacre kill box. And so your job in an ambush is to punch out. And that's what we did. We're able to punch out at like a 50 cal ammo from up top, came out of its ammo box. It's like hit me in the head, and I'm supposed to drive, but some RPG or IED blew out my front right tire. And so it takes 2 arms to rip my steering wheel over. And I'm going down this road, which is really just this horrible dried up creek bed that just, you have to really plan your route to figure out how you're not going to high center somewhere. And so it's just a mess. And this 50 cal ammo's hit me in the helmet, and I'm wanting to get in the fight and shoot at the same time, but I'm supposed to punch out. And so, man, it was a mess. It could have been that, or it could have been, that sucked. You never know how many things where you were kind of in enemy crosshairs and nothing went wrong. They could have shot you, but you didn't. So you don't really count any of that stuff. Gunfights, raiding terrorist training camps, or one of my very first and closest interactions that I ever got into. It's like room on room gunfight. And that was real close. And after, coming through a doorway and putting this joker down, we looked, and right over my upper left shoulder were SKS bullet holes in the wall. That one's kind of, that improved my prayer life. So it's not horrible fear and it's not rage. It's just calm, cold math. And that's where I really wanted to live and work. And that was really the goal, is though the world is on fire and falling apart around you and you're pretty sure you're about to eat it, you're just going to do the right thing and make the next right decision, and calm, cool waters on the surface and raging heart underneath. And so I want cold, hard math. And that's really, I think, the most ideal goal. Right? But really, I think warrior has to do with more of the heart of a man and who he is. I think men are made to be strong, and we're supposed to be protectors and providers. And those warrior-like attributes are absolutely critical to be successful as a man. It's part of your calling. I'm supposed to be able to be a leader and bold and fearless and courageous. I'm supposed to have grit so that I can carry heavy burdens. That's all the good warrior stuff. And so even if you're not getting shot at by Charlie hiding in the bushes, all the virtues and the strengths of a warrior are absolutely critical for men to succeed in. There's the First and Second Amendment, and we'll use that as a metaphor for what I'm about to say. The Second Amendment is the right to bear arms, and it's absolutely critical because it is the big bodyguard of all the other amendments. If you don't have the right to bear arms, ultimately, you're going to lose your First Amendment, which is packed full with all the good stuff. That's, freedom of press and religion and freedom of speech and due process, all that stuff. And so Second Amendment is the only thing that will ultimately keep tyrants at bay. Now, it may be way far in the future, or it may be whatever, but ultimately, all laws are protected and sustained by force. And so if all force is abdicated to a government, even if the government is super swell and sweetie pies, one day tyrants will take over that. It's just the natural progression of all nations over time. And when that happens, the people will have no recourse. And that's why our founders put a Second Amendment in. I think passive men are neither warriors nor poets. They're weak in both areas. And so, yeah, it's not that, we're too poet-esque. It's like, no, you're not poet enough. Passive men are not active in pursuing their brides and dating them for life. They're not romantic. They're not vulnerable. They're not seeking out capital T truth. They're sitting on a beanbag chair playing video games 8 hours a day. They're just logging time at work. They will do anything to self-preserve and stab someone in the back if they need to. They'll be nice guys. Maybe they're polite. Maybe they're real funny. But they're not making a mark in any area of warrior or poet. So I think men today need to grow in both aspects. However, I do think men are predisposed to be one more of the other. I'm naturally more lion. I'm naturally more warrior. I had to learn through a painstaking process how to save my marriage, which was really rough for the first couple years. And now take what's in my head and heart and put it forth and say, guys, you have no idea how amazing a flourishing wife is and the power and passion and depth of that safe monogamy. And it is incredible. But you got to fight your way into that. And so I wouldn't change that for anything in the world. My faith as well of it grows over time. And so that right there has become the most important aspect of my life. But passive men don't pursue those endeavors. And I had to really, it's like the heart stuff. I feel like just a dumb idiot where I'm pretty good at taking a punch. I'm pretty good at pushing through pain and limits and sucking it up. I can do all that stuff when I need to foster boldness and aggression. I know how to flip those switches as well, but being able to turn down the dial and be loving and affectionate and emotionally vulnerable and really know what in the world's going on with my heart in the first place. It's like I'm the last one to know. My wife knows when I'm off way before I know when I'm off. And then even when I'm off, like you'd mentioned before of how do you get in that kind of fog? And hey, maybe I'm not performing well on camera and something's off with me and I don't know exactly what it is. And perhaps it's fear or apathy. When I start getting apathetic about stuff, I realize, there may be fear under there. There may be some type of tension. I need to lean in and see what in the world's going on with me. Yeah. And so I think there is a terrible misunderstanding about what strength really is of when I think a strong man, I don't think you got lats growing out of your ears down to your shoulder of your deadlift is 700 pounds. But if you do have a 700-pound deadlift, bro, I'm going to buy you a beer. That's amazing. Bravo. Man, there's all kinds of different areas where a man needs to be strong. One is physical. It's the least important unless you're fighting Vikings or something like that. There's emotional strength. If somebody cuts you off in traffic and you lose your mind over that, you're a pathetically weak dude. You're angered too easily. Really? That sets you off? You can't even control your own stupid temper. You're a weak man. You're weak. And you need to grow in your emotional stability and faculties, right? I think your spiritual strength is more important than any of it. And from that, your character, your morality, your all your meaning and purpose is really going to flow from that. I think mental strength, pick up a book, brother. You got to be smart. You can't just work really hard, grind it out, and expect your life to go really well. That life is a series of all kinds of different puzzles, and you got to be smart to be able to figure this out. Like, for instance, you don't talk to chicks the same way you talk to dudes. And if you try to, you're going to destroy your life. You'll feel tough, but you're an idiot. You're going to destroy all your relationships because you're an idiot. And so we need to get stronger in all those different areas. Isn't that interesting? We waste so much time and energy and stress so much because we really just get the definitions of words wrong. And we give so much ground in our lives to things like fear. I tell my sons all the time, I'm like, boys, it's okay to be afraid. You're just not allowed to let fear stop you. It's okay to cry. We just cry about the right things, like, hey, you stump your toe, suck it up, buttercup. Men don't cry when they're physically hurt. We're going to be tough. And that's what I teach my boys. But if you cry because you're overcome with love for somebody, or something that's your heart has moved. I'm like, the toughest dude I've ever heard of, absolutely, is the one who split time in two, Jesus Christ, tortured to death, doesn't cry out, just absolute moral strength, spiritual strength, intellectual strength, physical strength. He had the whole package there. So there you go.
You talk in the book about the importance of facing death before you die. Why?
So if you face death, it will immediately push all the vain pursuits to the left and right, and all that you're left with in the middle is what matters. If you face death, if you realize what's worth dying for, what's worth living for.